I'm just heading out to interview a good friend of mine, Mark Stevens, and you're about to watch the interview in full. He started his affiliate journey 2 years ago, and before that he was a complete beginner. He had no idea what he was doing. He's just in the month of May had his best ever month for earnings with over $10,000 in terms of revenue. We're going to find out exactly how he did it, so enjoy the interview. What's better, display ads or affiliate commissions?
Affiliate commissions, 100%.
Thank you, yes. If starting again, age domain or newly registered?
Aged.
And most stressful, moving house or Google Core update? So I'm joined by the mighty Mark Stevens. Well, I think you're mighty because, well, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I think over the last couple of years, the journey that you've gone on in terms of affiliate niche websites, I just think it's quite meteoric, really. And obviously, no one here is going to know who you are. So introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Mark Stevens. I'm a friend of Jason, so I've known him probably about 10 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, it must
our
be,
daughters go to the same school, and we play badminton together, don't we?
We do indeed. We
try and do it every week, but it's about equal in terms of skill, I think. But you've got a few years on me, so I always like to rub that in a little.
Yeah,
bit.
it's hard to tell with the with the follically challenged look, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll get that in early.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure people will comment on that.
I'm sure they will.
And there is actually a funny thing. I think a lot of people talk about the best SEOs being follically challenged.
So we need to get T-shirts made.
We do indeed, and we're sitting here with a beer as well, which again I think is quite apt, really, that we're doing this, because I can't really quite remember how you first got into affiliate marketing and niche websites, but it probably did revolve around discussions that we probably had in the pub, where I was probably sort of showing you affiliate earnings for that day or something.
Exactly that, yeah. I remember specifically at badminton, and you kept coming in saying, oh, I've sold another drone today, and things like that. And the commission was, I don't think you were earning loads at that time, but just getting a few hundred a month or something like that, it really opened my eyes. And, you know, I've got nothing to do with SEO or websites or anything like that. I work full-time in a scientific role. I've got a PhD in laser physics. So what I do is completely, well, I say completely unrelated, but actually, we'll probably come on to this, I think there's some crossover skills from my day job that can be used in SEO. So it might be worth talking about that in a bit. But it was that badminton match when we were talking about, you know, everyone wants easy money, everyone wants passive income. And I love the idea of, you know, just being able to earn at the weekend or something when I'm in the pub or something. There's a lot of pub related.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got the beers. And it coincided with lockdown. So we had the COVID lockdown. This was sort of early 2020. And you'd been going on about these websites for ages. And so I thought, look, I'm going to have to put up or shut up here, because what you were describing to me about what you do on your affiliate website, it didn't sound that tough. Yeah. I mean, it sounded like, right, you're writing content about products, and I think I could do, you know, at the time I thought I could do that. I could, you know, I can write a description. I think, as going back to my scientific role, you know, if I do an experiment at the university where I used to work, you know, I then have to write up that experiment. I have to say what happened. And you could sort of see a same progression with writing about a product or something, testing a product, you know. Yeah. So I wanted to choose a niche for my first site that had a lot of products in it, and I wanted good availability of those products, you know. So I wanted to choose a niche that I had experience in, had some products, knew friends and family with those sort of products. So then I could get, you know, a good access to a lot of them, and then write about them on different web pages or different posts on my site.
Okay, that's interesting that you talked about niche there, because that was going to be one of the first questions that I asked. And this is always a question that crops up on the channel, is how did you go into the niche that you chose, and did you give it a huge amount of thought? Was it something that you debated for hours about? or was it very much, I know that this is the niche that I want to go into?
I think it was the latter. There was a few things, you probably noticed the guitar there. I was considering a guitar niche, but I thought, everyone's going to do that. And are you really going to sell a £2,000 Les Paul guitar on the basis of a review? I think most people want to play the guitar in a shop or something. I mean, that's how it works. But the niche I did choose is in the outdoor niche. I'm not going to go into the specifics,
of course.
But there's only a few real outdoor niches it could be. But it was a really competitive niche. I didn't really check that. I just thought about my experience. So this niche is something my friends, my family do. I do. I've got gear in that niche, and I know a lot about it. I've been doing it for a long time, and so it was a no-brainer for me. And especially when I started looking for my first site, I just created a new domain. I didn't look, and we'll probably talk about age domains later, but I just did it from scratch, and I came up with quite a good little branded web domain name, I think, for the niche that I'm in. And once I'd got that and the idea, then I just went with it. So there wasn't a lot, and it could have all backfired. And it took several, 6 to 8 months before I even saw any action. We'll probably talk about that as well.
We definitely will talk about that, because I think that is the one thing that surprised me with your site, is how fast you had success, and also the fact that you had success with your first ever site, because that was something that certainly didn't happen to me, and I know there's a lot of people
that shocked me to
work on projects and they don't experience that. So when you started out, and let's be honest, you had a very good mentor.
What a guy. You can't fail this guy helping you out, that's for sure.
What was the focus for you in the very early days? And I know that might be quite difficult to kind of cast your mind back, but was it content? Was it building the brand? Was it looking at backlinks? And I know you had some interesting experiences or services that you opted into early on that probably I wouldn't have advised you to. But what was the focus to start with?
This is often talked about on podcasts and on your channel. I wasted an inordinate amount of time on trying to make the site look good to start with. In retrospect, I would change that and just get the content down. I probably spent a month or two getting it looking nice, but at the same time I was writing as well. So like I said, it was lockdown. I was stuck at home anyway, day after day. So it was the perfect timing, really, to just get my head down and start writing. But I was learning about WordPress. I was learning about keyword research, but I didn't really do much of that. You helped me a little bit on that, and we can talk about that as well. I did spend too long on logos, getting the graphics right. And I am lucky in that my wife knows a little bit about web development. She has done some stuff in the past, knows about WordPress. And that, that really helped. And I think for other beginners, I'd really recommend trying to just seek out a mentor or something. Mm-hmm. There's loads of forums on SEO, isn't there? And you can just get strike up conversations on there. And I think it helps everyone to bounce ideas off. Because you even bounce ideas off me, and I don't really know anything.
Absolutely.
But it's good to just get another opinion.
And I think the mentor relationship, it works both ways. The benefits are there for both. You know, not just the person who is, the mentee. I think the mentor gains a lot from it too. And I know when you ask me questions, most of the time I know the answer to them, but sometimes it'll make me think, or I'll have forgotten about something that I did in the early days, and it just brings that back, and it's almost like a refresh as well. So I think there's definitely benefits on both sides.
But let's just, I didn't fully answer that, because after I'd spent that time, I really got into the writing side of things, and I really wanted to build up, maybe 20, 30 posts of the top keywords that you had provided to me. And I spent time getting those articles going. In the meantime, I was doing the silly, because Google hadn't really picked up the site at all at that point. And I had this silly idea, right, I can go on forums for my niche, say it's stand-up paddleboarding or something like that. I would join all the Facebook groups on stand-up paddleboarding. And then, I hadn't written best stand-up paddleboard, but I might have written best stand-up paddleboard, which packs down small or something. And then I'd wait for someone to ask a question, which paddleboard looking back out, I'm waiting to catch a wave, like I'm surfing. And then when they do it, I go, look at this article, it answers exactly that question. And then, incredibly, what really got me going and got the adrenaline going was after posting that, I'd see the traffic on Google Analytics rocket up. And when that first happens, and you think, "Oh my God, there's 10 people on my site at the moment." It's a
and
real,
that was referral traffic from the forum.
Referral traffic, and I actually got sales in my first month doing that. I've had sales every month I've done the website, not always from Google. It's just from that forum idea.
Wow.
But it wasn't, I was still making a big loss because I was paying hosting, and we'll get onto backlinks.
And were you active in those forums prior to being in the niche?
I joined
so
them
you literally
deliberately,
joined them to do that.
And I made sure I would only reply to a question that someone was asking. I didn't try and spam the forum. Yeah. And I didn't give my real name either.
Good decision.
I don't know, yeah. I didn't want to be associated with the website. I just wanted them to think I was a reader or whatever.
This is I don't know the answer to this. How many posts have you got now? You just mentioned you were kind of on a fast track to try and get 30 posts.
I think that was in my head.
Published. What sort of numbers are we talking now for the site? Are we over 100?
We're just over 100, I think, about 110, 120.
Yeah,
something like that.
So it's not
a huge site.
It's not a huge site, but your content is very detailed, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly too detailed. And I said before, I'm a scientist by trade, and even though you gave me lots of advice, I broke nearly everything that I like to try stuff out. And with my first site, I didn't think it was going to work.
Of course not.
So I thought, this is my learning curve here. I'm going to try everything I possibly can, see what happens, and then, live or die by the sword kind of thing. And, and it worked. And we'll talk about all the dodgy things I did. I still maintain they didn't really harm my site, but you probably beg to differ. But I mean, I did all sorts because I just didn't know any better. But yeah, I've got about 120 pages now, I think. Actually, I do posts. I don't do any. The only pages I've got are just my About Us and the privacy.
Okay.
Just a few static pages. Because I tried to do product reviews in a page format. I use Rehub as a
theme
template or whatever. And I just couldn't get the pages to index at all.
So you just stuck with posts? I just stuck with posts,
and that seems to work for me. I mean,
okay, it's interesting. I mean, essentially, there is no difference between a page and a post in the realm of the internet. It's just the way that WordPress deals with it. But that's interesting, and everyone's got a different approach to that. I mix and match the two. So my buyer's guides tend to be posts, and my product reviews tend to be pages, and then info content usually I'll also do as a post. But I don't think there's any right or wrong, and clearly that proves it, because you're getting some decent success with the site, aren't you now? I mean, we won't go into specific numbers, but unless you want to.
I don't mind. I mean, it's my niche is outdoors. It's very seasonal, and you said that when I picked it at the start, and you were totally right. So it drops off humongously in the winter. Bear in mind, I've only had 2 winters because I started in August 2020.
Wow.
And now this summer it's been consistently around 70,000 views per month. So really good traffic. I've started doing Ezoic on it. That started in the winter because the traffic was falling off. I wasn't getting as many sales, and I thought, well, you suggested try putting some ads on, and that was effortless, and that gave me an extra £500 a month income, basically.
Brilliant. And that was in the quiet period?
That was in the quiet period.
And you're still running the ads now?
I've kept it going, but I've backed off. I hate ads. We all hate ads. Yeah. I've backed off. You can sort of change how many ads are shown on the page, so I've backed that right off. I've kept it at about £500 income. I could get more if I loaded it, but I've kept it going just to have that little guaranteed income. If you're getting all that traffic, you sort of want to get something out of it, I think.
So if you're doing 500 a month in ads, you're doing pretty well with your affiliate stuff as well, because that's the bulk of your income.
Yeah, I have got some informational stuff. I've tried all sorts, like crosswords and things like that to try and get people in. I don't think any of that works really. But the product reviews, the best of guides, of the products in my niche, is doing really well. And I had my best month ever in May a few months ago. It was like £8,500 commission, which is absolutely unbelievable.
And the reason that I laugh is because it annoys me. It really annoys me because
I mean, because I remember when I started, it was like, if I can just get enough here to cover my hosting costs, I would have been happy with. Do you remember me saying that?
I do.
But I got the golden touch.
You have got the golden touch, and you've got the golden mentor, and that's
I think that is it.
But no, I say that, but the one thing that you have done, and this actually surprised me, is that you absolutely went all in terms of working your socks off on it. You really did, and I thought you were going to start off like a bull in a china shop.
Yep.
And you were going to really go for it, and then I thought you'd tail off. And you might have done had you not had that early success.
I think
you got a taste, but you kept going. You kept going,
Yeah.
and you've pushed that through.
I surprised myself really, but when just it's something like learning the guitar. Once I get into something, I can sort of persevere, and I think that's what happened with the website. It was just the right time with the lockdown. I had time to look at it, but I was still doing my day job, and I was getting up, at 5 or 6 in the morning, and I'm sure everyone does this who's done an affiliate site, but I was writing for 4 hours before. I was then, after work at 6 p.m, I was getting back on it, and then you get in the whole rigmarole of checking rankings and, checking your sales, and God, the amount of time I wasted, like refreshing Amazon affiliates, just seeing, Amazon associates, sorry. And have I got a sale? And I'm still doing that today. I'm regularly doing it.
And you get the dopamine hit. It's addictive. Yeah,
it really is. I liken it to fantasy football. I don't. Your American viewers probably won't know that's probably a similar thing for American football. But over here, you pick a team. You can see each week how your team's doing against the competition. And I feel rankings is like that. It's like a game, isn't it? Yeah. You want to beat the competition. So it is like a competitive sport, and it's very, very addictive, especially when you start getting money. So like I said, you asked about backlinks. I didn't do backlinks right at the start. I waited till I had about 20 or 30 posts. But before I did backlinks, I did some silly stuff on
you did, yes.
on Fiverr. I mean, it's probably worth just talking a bit about that.
Absolutely. So go on, talk us through what was in your mind when this happened. Were you actually actively looking for backlinks, and you were thinking, I need to do it on the cheap? Or
yeah, so I really wanted, because it wasn't, I hadn't earned any, I'd made a few sales, but I hadn't earned any money. So I didn't have the confidence to outlay £1,000 or something on backlinks, even though I knew you were piling in backlinks, and that's the way you were meant to do it. I didn't want to do it until I'd proven to myself that I could make some money from this. So what did I do? I tried to cut corners, and I did do some genuine outreach. So I would look for people connected to the niche and write to them. And, I get emails now from people trying to get links off me, and they're awful, written really badly, spammy. They haven't even taken the time to look up my name or anything off the website. I just think, forget it, man. But I did it a lot more carefully, and looked at the websites that I wanted to write to, found out who they were, what their interests were, and then tailored each email to that person, and then asked for a link. And I said, look, I'm new in my niche, I'm trying to build authority, and I appealed to their nicer instincts, and a lot of times that worked. And I got some links, really good links, like DA 40, 50 for £30 or something, which is unbelievable.
It is.
And you can pay £300 for that via an agency or something.
Absolutely. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how easy it is, or the success rate that you get with outreach if you do it well.
Yeah.
Because everyone tells you that outreach is hard, and it is, but you have to be unique. You can't. I think you're right. I think it's these emails that go out on, en masse, and they blast out 1,000 emails randomly. It's not going to work. If you take the time to send 10 emails and you personalise them, you're probably going to get 2 or 3 responses.
Yeah, and you get it to the right person with the right name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in terms of monetisation then, we talked a little bit about that. You talked about Amazon Associates.
Yeah, so that was the first one I did. And obviously Amazon, how long's the cookie? Is it 24 hours?
24 hours, yeah.
Yeah, so you've really got to get someone to buy that thing the minute they look at it. And I think having well-written content helps with that, and good big buttons for them to click, and then it goes to Amazon. And once the sales picked up, it started from my website on Amazon. That's where I got the first sales, really. I then, branched into other I don't know what they call them. Is it sort of I don't know, marketing companies? Awin in particular, I know, and a lot of the outdoor companies that sell products that I review are on this Awin platform, and that's often it's a longer cookie, more like I've had a week up to 30 days. I found commission varies. Like Amazon in the outdoor niche is about 6%. Some of these companies were like 3%, 5%, but you had the longer cookie, and I wasn't getting much sales there until the summer started.
Yeah.
And then big ticket items started selling. And this was like my first summer after that August. So it was only about 7 or 8 months after starting. Traffic wasn't incredibly high, but it was converting. And these Awin sales started coming in. And that was nice. You know, if you sell a product for £1,000, even on 5%, it's 50 quid.
Yeah.
And then what I did, and this is something I'd really recommend your viewers do, is you're not going to negotiate with Amazon. There's nothing you can do on that. But with Awin and others of these agency type, they give you an account manager for each of the companies with a name and email address. I just wrote to those guys. I was women, guys, whatever, robots, I don't know. But and I'd say, look, I've sold this many of those products. I mean, can you do anything on the commission? If you can, and they often came back and said, well, we could do something on it, but what are you going to do for us? And I would say, look, I'll plaster your name on the website. I'll put you in our Best Buy review. I'll do dedicated reviews. I'll take any products that you can get and I'll review them. I'll do a video review on YouTube. And often they came back and said, okay. And I actually got one company to go from 5% up to 10% commission, and they sell products in the 500 to 1,500 pound range.
Yeah.
So suddenly my commission's going up from 50 to 150 or on those big products. And that's how the income started to really go up. And I'm still pinching myself at the progress. I mean, it is slightly bizarre.
Incredible. So you almost got away with it, but I'm going to pull you back to it. You tried to change the subject.
Yeah, I did.
Fiverr. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so Fiverr, I don't know if your viewers know, it's sort of another agency, but it's people offering their services to do work. And if you go on there and search SEO, there's about 1 million different people worldwide charging anything from like £10 to £500 to do what
and
they
they're
call...
not all bad.
No.
Say.
And it was you who actually mentioned Fiverr to me in the first place, which gave me the idea, but you didn't recommend that I use it for what I did use it for. But
And
anyway.
what was that?
So, right, the first thing I did was, and I didn't know anything at this point. And there was one guy who said something like, I will make your website DA50, just like that. And and it was like 20 quid or something. So I sent off the money and said, go on then, looking forward to this. And lo and behold, he writes back and goes, right, you're DA50 on Moz now. And I went on Moz and checked it. And I was.
And it was, because I checked it as well, because you messaged me and said, I've got a DA50. I was like, what? How can this possibly
you
be?
were only at 20 at that
I was
point.
at a DA20 on my main site. Yeah.
So that was crazy. But when I looked into what he had done, it was just so bad.
Yes.
He had basically just given me a few links from Google Maps or something, and Google Russia and Google Poland. And I'm not sure, I still don't know exactly what he had done, but he had linked on a map from various Googles around the world, and I was, and
you also had some very dodgy links with very dodgy anchor text. No, not dodgy anchor text, but from URLs that were very dodgy.
This was something actually that sort of worked, and I still maintain it was good for my site at the beginning. I don't know if it is now that it's a much bigger site. But what I did was, it was another guy on Fiverr, and he said, I've got I can do redirects, and I didn't really know what that was. And I wrote to him.
Redirects.
He was called UK SEO guy, so there's a little plug for him. He's still on there, on Fiverr. And he said he could use a tool to find expired domains that had one super high DA backlink. And it might be from the BBC, The Guardian, or whatever. And he had so many of these that he could choose one that was sort of relevant to my outdoor niche. And so I did 3 of them for something like £100 or something like that. A real shortcut. Anyway, I directed so he set it up for me, and he asked me what pages I wanted them redirected to, and I chose 3 of my product pages. I didn't even do it to the homepage, I did it to the specific product pages. So say it was a stand-up paddleboard again, I did it to that. Bear in mind, at that point I had stand-up paddleboard that was packing down small, a really long keyword that not much search volume. He did these redirects, and he said, look, it's going to take about a couple of months to kick in. And nothing happened after about 6 or 7 weeks. I thought, oh God, here we go, Jason was right. Totally wasted my money there. And then all of a sudden, they just went to number 1, basically. They just went in the top 10 from nowhere, these articles. But I'd redirected them to keywords that, were too long, at that point.
Yes.
So then I thought, wow, God, if it's got that much power on this long keyword with no search volume, I need to chop back that article because it's too involved. I need to make it more generalized. So I basically retitled the page. I gave it a new URL and redirected the old long URL back to a shorter one, which was more general with a higher volume of search. And it still went really high up with this redirect.
So it was redirected to your existing content, but then you redirected that to other content.
And that worked as well. And I think this I don't know what suddenly gave me authority. And you made saying it was my well-written content, which might be. I was writing long reviews. I was probably way too long. Some are like 5,000 word reviews, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, some are more than that.
I don't know. I just get carried away, and I was doing link insertions as well, and I don't even know if that was a thing then, because I thought, well, if there's an old article, from 10 years ago or something, it's probably the person doesn't care about that article anymore. They're not going to mind sticking in a link because to them it's done and dusted, that page. So I was doing this outreach and not asking for guest posts. I was asking for,
link
can you just put a link in, and that worked really well as well. And going back to Fiverr, there was another guy on there, and I did get some reasonable links off Fiverr. There's a guy called Liam Rafferty on there, and he got me some good links. In the bike niche, I've got a few pages on bikes, and he got a couple of good links there that got me up in the top 10 as well. And then it's just a case of optimizing your title and trying to get up the rankings, and you're just tweaking stuff like you've described on your
and to begin with, you did go for longer tail keywords like you just mentioned there. I think I remember saying to you at one point, go for tougher stuff because you're starting to be seen as an authority. And Google, I think you can do it. And the stuff that you rank for now is outrageous, to be quite frank, on some of the things.
10,000.
But you are seen as an authority now. If you create a new piece of content that's closely related to your niche, you rank, don't you? Pretty much straight away. You're on page 1.
Yeah, I'm trying to maintain that
terms.
position. I'm not even really looking to grow the site anymore. It's just doing so well. I'd rather start a new site. Well, we could talk about that. I am trying to do that, but time is a tricky subject for me at the moment. I did want to say one thing on the keyword, though. It took me ages to realise that a keyword is not just a word. And it's just a really bad description of what a keyword... It's a key phrase, really. And you kept talking about keywords, and I remember that message.
Yeah, I was like, I remember you messaging me. You're like, I've got a really silly question.
A keyword can be multiple words, But
the funny thing is, that sounds so simple, but there are, potentially hundreds of people. If you had that issue, other people will have had that issue too. Okay, so you had some. Not necessarily bad, but questionable services.
We should talk about the Al Qaeda thing as well. Well, that was another of those redirects, but I didn't really thoroughly check what was being redirected from. And the original article was about some monuments in...
Yeah, I saw that.
In Iraq or something. And it mentioned Al Qaeda in the anchor text, linking to my
And is that still there?
That's still there. But it didn't
I think the thing is, now the site is in such an authoritative position, it has got strong, powerful backlinks that are good quality. I think all of that stuff is diluted now, so I don't think you've got anything to worry about. Otherwise someone could just negative SEO a site with a few backlinks like that, or a few redirects, and a site would tank. And I don't think that's the case. And I know Google have actually come out and said that you don't even need to disavow links like that anymore. They'll just discount them.
Right, okay.
So I don't think it's too much of a concern. But so okay, so some of those were questionable. Say,
Yeah.
were there any services that you used or tools that you used that you would say were very, very good or helped you a lot along the way?
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind that I'm really tight. I don't want to spend money on tools. And you keep going, oh, you've got to get Ahrefs and stuff. Come on, Mark, you can afford that. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm holding out. I'm not going to do it. I try and just use free tools wherever I can. One I was using was called Word Tracker. And I found that if you access it via Tor browser, you get unlimited free goes on that. And that's quite nice because you can just search for like best scooter or something, and it gives you the keyword volume for that, the difficulty, and it will suggest other things like best scooters for babies or something like that. You know, it gives you lists of other suggestions, which is quite nice. And then you might want to do an article on those. I use a basic rank tracker. I use SERP Robot. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's cheap as well.
That's a cheap
£4 a month or something like that. Because I was using yours for a while. So Jason set his up. I think you had a few spare slots and you did mine. But I got fed up of asking you, can you put this phrase in? And I thought I better.
And I was running out of space as well. So you're on super budget. Rank tracker.
And even Ahrefs has a backlink checker for free, which I use as well, and that shows you pretty much all you need. I mean, I have tried Ahrefs. I did again. I cut corners. I tried. There's a website that offers you access to a load of different tools for not a lot a month. It's based in India, I think. And
it's like tool sharing.
Tool sharing is probably dodgy. I don't know, but I did try that. It seemed to work fine.
It will work.
I've used Ahrefs fleetingly on that, but actually you can't get Ahrefs on that now. So I think Ahrefs have probably tightened
it up. I think the issue with that is potentially allowing people to see your history.
Yeah.
So you kind of giving away your niche and your research and that sort of thing. So that's interesting though, because I think particularly for people that are just starting out, those tools are very, very useful. And like you've said there, you get quite a lot of functionality out of them for very little.
Yeah, and you can't be just typing in Google a phrase and then see what Google suggests, and then that might be, it's got to be something someone's searching for. They wouldn't put it there.
And in terms of your content, do you use any tools for that? Do you use anything like Surfer SEO or AI content or anything like that?
Well, I use Rank Math, and I've used that, I think, before you. I think so I'm taking credit for that one because you were using Yoast, and I said, hey man, rank Math, and it gives you a sort of idea of your SEO. It gives you a score out of 100 in the free version, and so I was trying to get it above 90 out of 100 on that. You know, and it looks, have you got the keyword in the title? Have you got it in your H1 and blah blah blah? You know, so that's all I used, and that seems good enough.
I just use my head for that.
All right, thanks.
But I know what you mean. It's useful to have that kind of reference.
It says, have you got the keyword in your featured image and things like that you might forget if you. I'm so used to it now.
But for someone just starting out, it's a good little kind of.
I recommend Rank Math big time.
Okay, so your outdoor niche is going great.
Yep.
It's the height of summer at the moment in the UK, and it is a UK site, isn't it?
It is a UK site.
It's doing very well. So
I even get sent free stuff.
That is a great point. Yeah, we should talk about that. So you do get free stuff, some pretty expensive gear as well.
I've got some really good
stuff. But what are the plans for the future? You touched on the fact that you're starting a new site.
I mean, I started it last year, and it's just been a struggle to find time to do it, really, because when I find it difficult to put effort into a new site when the existing one's doing so well, and I think I should put my very limited spare time. I mean, I've got a family, we're busy, I've got badminton, we've got beers to drink. It's really hard for me.
And to be clear, you've also still got a very demanding full-time job.
Yeah, I do 50 hours a week in my main job, so it's hard to put time into another new site. But I have progressed it. I bought an aged domain off Sumit
SERP names,
SERP
yeah.
names, yeah. It was quite a lot of money. It was in a competitive niche again, very similar to one of yours.
Yeah, because I wanted that domain.
Did you? No, I think I spotted it.
You spotted it, and then you
and you said, "Oh God!"
And I
that is
said,
good.
"I'm going to get that if you don't."
Yeah.
And then I think that kind of pushed you to go, "Okay,
Yeah,
if he
pretty
wants
well.
it, I'll have it."
And at that point, I'd made quite a lot on my existing site, so I thought I can invest a bit more in the name, in the domain, and it had some good backlinks and stuff. You know, and I got on I started outsourcing some content, and I had difficulties with that really. Often content would come back and it wasn't up to the standard that I would write it. And I was spending more time just adjusting the content that had come back than, you know, it's probably equal if I'd written it myself, the amount of time I was spending. So, you know, I don't know what these content writers are like. You've got some dedicated writers, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got dedicated writers, and I've tried some of those services that you've used as well, and the difference is huge, I find.
Yeah, and I did get some good stuff back. What was interesting was the stuff that they wrote did rank, and so even though it wasn't done in my style, it still was successful. And, you know, even on this new site, which I haven't put much effort into, I've got pages... Several, you know, probably...
You've got some very good rankings.
Yeah, I've got 10 pages in the top 10, you know, and I haven't done anything on there. I've hardly done any links at all.
So no real backlinking with that
No,
site?
it's just ready for me to get some effort on it, and I'm intending to do it ASAP, you know, I really want to
I think you should, because certainly in my experience, I've started 2 Age Domain projects this year, and they're both flying.
I am an avid fan of his affiliate school. Love it.
You should be. You have to say that.
Yeah.
So you're what I would describe now, a fairly advanced stage. You've got good knowledge. You've been through the process. You know, you're starting a second site. You've seen good success with your first. What advice would you give to someone who was just starting out? Are there any tips or kind of pearls of wisdom that you could say to someone that's just starting out, their first ever niche site? Was there anything that I said to you that was particularly good advice, or anything that you've picked up along the way?
Yeah, well...
Probably a few things, I should think.
I'm glad I went for these competitive keywords, you know, and I'm doing it again on well, it's hard to say, really. Would I do it again? I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Doug Cunnington, Niche Pursuits. They're always talking about, you know, long tail keywords and stuff like that. I've never really got my head around that, really. I mean, why put pages in that no one's actually searching for? Yeah, you might get the occasional sale, but I don't know. I don't get the theory behind that. I think it's better to go for it. So my advice would be, you know, have big dreams and go for it. If you put in this effort into a site, do you want to be ultimately earning 100 a month or 200 a month, or do you want to be earning 10,000 a month? And for me, I think the risk reward would say go for the bigger keywords, and then get good backlinks, you know, and good content. And I think you've got every chance of it. So that's what I would say.
Let's talk about EAT. It's one of those things that gets talked about a lot. So we're talking about expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. How seriously did you take that with your site, your first site, and how much have you actually done in terms of that? Because I think you've got quite a bit of good advice that you could kind of give here. And I think, certainly from what I've seen, you've tackled that quite well, maybe without even realising you were doing it.
Yeah, because the thing you find with SEO and niche websites is that there's always some advice to follow. There's always a new thing. Google's changing the rules every single moment, and really you drive yourself crazy if you try to take everything on board. And that's what I think a lot of people do. And like I said before, I like to experiment and try different things out, and I've not followed the rules really. But I think just out of my own brain, I thought I've got to show somehow that I know what I'm talking about here. No one's going to buy anything off my website unless it sounds like I clearly know what I'm talking about. And I've got to know more about it than the person reading it, otherwise I've not done my job. So a key thing for me was, because I review gear, products, was getting good photos of that gear. I mean, not the stock photos. I might put a stock photo, a nice clear studio photo of the product at the top, but then I want to pepper in some photos of the actual product so it looks like I'm using it, and not just taken from other websites or whatever like that. And I even got to the stage I reviewed a bike rack once, and I basically bought it from a shop, and it cost a lot of money. I needed one anyway, and then I reviewed it. And then it didn't quite work for what I wanted, so I took it back and then got another one and reviewed that. And I had lovely photos of it. And I did a video as well. So close to the start of the website, I started up a YouTube channel. It's not very successful. I've only got 300 subscribers. But I still, if I get a product, I'll do a short video on it, and then I'll link from YouTube to my article. And I don't know if that helps, but I've got a feeling Google likes it. They see that connection. The channel's called the same as my website. I link to the website from the channel, and vice versa. I put it in the review as well. That YouTube and
I think it definitely helps.
Yeah.
And then going back to the website, you've got your presence is on the site, isn't it? And
possibly a bit too much, because I would like to sell the site at some point, but I think I'm really entwined in the fabric of that website, and
I don't think that's too much of a concern. I think there's ways around that when it comes to the sale.
My bald head in nearly every article, just me grinning.
But that's interesting, because do you have writers for that site, or have you got author
I haven't
profiles?
got dedicated ones. I use a few agencies.
So everything comes under the guise of you are the writer.
Yeah.
But I think that's really interesting, because a lot of these things
I
we see
try
about
and make
EAT,
it sound like I've written everything, even if I haven't. So I don't know if that's good. I like to keep a consistent sort of feel. I have let the side down a little bit. I have given into the weakness of guest posts. I said all those spam emails don't work, but occasionally I've let a few in, because if they're going to pay me £200 to put and they'll write I say to them, well, you better write the content as well, so I don't have to do anything really. They give me an article and £200, and all I have to do is host it on my site.
And I assume you're quality controlling that.
If it comes in and probably
it's
not
terrible.
good enough, and I wish if I get time, I'll try and improve those articles.
Okay, so like I said, you're fairly established now. You're almost an authority yourself. What's been the hardest part of this entire process for you? Is there anything, and has it changed since the beginning? You talked about time. What would you say?
Time's the biggie for me. I mean, as I said, I just haven't got loads of it anymore. But luckily, the site's now, I call it's sort of in ticking over mode at the moment. One thing I've done wrong, I think I've taken my eye off the ball in terms of backlinks. Because I had such good rankings, through the winter and at the start of the summer, that I just thought I don't need any more. It feels like I'm here forever, and I have noticed a little drop lately. So I'm going to have to get my.
Well, you say that. I actually looked at the site in Ahrefs prior to coming here, and it didn't look like you were affected by the May update, but just prior to the update, there was a little dip.
Right.
But literally in the last 4 or 5 days, according to Ahrefs anyway, it's now gone, and it was only a minor dip. It's gone back up and above where it was prior to May the 20th.
I mean, the traffic's been good right through, but it's just some of the rankings, I think. But I'm not religiously looking as much.
Yeah, and it has been quite a volatile period.
Yeah, and it's still earning. I mean, I'm really happy with the income and stuff at the moment. It's just whether it will continue.
So really, time is the biggest roadblock for you.
Especially as I want to grow that second site. I mean, that second site got me a 50 quid commission the other day, which was like mind-blowing. And it's in a similar niche to a couple of your sites, isn't it? Sort of supplements and stuff. So massive commissions to be had in that world if you get it right. So that is what I want to, if I get time, that's what I want to work on.
So that's kind of where the focus will be.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I struggle with.
Well, let's look at it from a different point of view then. If there was one thing, and again, I'm saying one thing, but if there was something that you could change about the journey that you've had so far in affiliate marketing, what would that be?
One biggie that really annoys me now, but I feel my hands are tied. I made probably the mistake of using Elementor to build my site, because I didn't know how to do it. It looked so nice. I could just drag pictures where I wanted them, and I could make it look like I wanted to. I didn't realize at the time it was adding in tons of extra code in the back end. and slowing my site down. So although my site speed isn't crazily bad, and I have got those Ezoic ads now as well, slowing it down a bit. You know, I'm in the 70 to 80 ballpark on the site, on the Google measurements.
Yeah,
but
and
it's not brilliant.
And
you know, it's not
theme
90.
changes feels like a huge thing.
I've got no idea how to do it.
I was petrified when I did it on my big site.
Because I've learned everything with that Elementor interface. So I'm sort of stuck with it. Because I'm short of the time, I can't learn
It's a
anything else.
time-consuming task for sure. Unless you
Certainly to learn
outsource
new
it,
skills, it's like an old dog, new tricks is tricky.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going with it. But
Right. That is my questioning over. But we did have some questions in from the community.
Oh, God.
So I asked, I
don't know anything.
I put out a community post. What I liked, I think you saw the community post, didn't you? And you.
Well, I didn't see the
sent me
questions, I don't think.
I think you just sent me a message saying, "What's keyword research?" You probably never had to do it. I've done it for you. Anyway, no, I'm joking. So the first question is from Walid. He says, "Can you talk us through the most important step of niche selection?" So obviously you kind of touched on this already, but
yeah, you've got to look at it in terms of volume. Is anyone looking? You know, you can't just choose a niche that you're the only person, a hobby that you're the only one who does in the world. It's got to have some sort of connection to the wider population. And I guess you do. Yeah, I think you can use common sense for that. If a lot of people know about it, it's probably going to be all right. I would recommend using something like WordTracker or Ahrefs or something just to look at a few keywords, best product X or whatever within that niche. And, you know, if you've got 1,000 search volume for a wide range, you know, you want at least 10 to 20 really good keywords with over 1,000 volume or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I would think that's a reasonable niche to go for. If it's like searches of 10 or whatever, I just don't see the point.
And do you think being passionate and interested in the niche is important or not?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
But I know that can't always be if you've got 20 sites, you've got a lot of sites, and you can't be passionate about all of them.
No,
I mean,
not.
like I said, I was going to do guitar. I did what I did. I still might do the guitar. You know, and I've got lots of interests. I could do a site on my day job, you know, physics, you know, optical fibers or whatever. So I could do a site on that maybe, but I don't think there's much monetization in that, but there might be. Who knows? I certainly for your first site, I'd go with something you know. That's just my view on it. But it's not a deal breaker. If you can research stuff yourself and watch YouTube videos about someone, you know, there's so much information out there. Don't leave it to an AI bot, I don't think. Just watch some YouTube videos on the niche of your choice, learn from the experts, then start writing. And then write. I think that's it.
Good advice. And the next question, and this is the last question, is from a huge fan of the affiliate school YouTube channel, Peter Hedman, and he had about 10 questions, so I've filtered them out. How many posts do you have? We've kind of covered that already.
Yeah, about 120 at the moment.
And how many affiliate programs? He also asked about future plans, but we've kind of already covered that.
That's quite an interesting one actually, because I don't like having too many because it's just more admin and more hassle. I've probably got 5 or 6 different programs with multiple manufacturers in each. And like I say, I've tried to negotiate with some of those accounts and had success with that. I definitely recommend doing that. But often they approach you as well. I think if they see that you're having success, they get in touch with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 6, I'd say, platforms.
Okay, and I think that's a good balance between not only going to Amazon.
Well, you want your
and then
site
having
to look varied as well. Yeah, exactly. You don't. Even my dad, and he knows nothing about internet. He just said, I can't abide sites which just recommend go straight to Amazon, straight to Amazon, straight to Amazon. You know, they're obviously doing it for the money. I want my readers to think and hopefully believe that. I'm recommending the best product, the one that I really think is the best, and that is my philosophy. I try and do that, and I think you need a range of manufacturers and shops, online shops, to go to to give that EAT. I think the sign that you know what you're talking about.
And Google asked for that in the Google product review update.
They have now, but I was doing it anyway.
You were doing it before.
So a lot of the things in that update I was already doing, which showed that I was doing them right.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. But before I let you go, I've got a quick game.
Have you? Oh, God.
It's going to be very quick and very silly. In fact, it's probably not even that silly. But I want you to give me your instant answer. Okay?
All right.
So, what's harder? Making good money with affiliate or completing a doctorate? Quick answer.
Doctorate.
That was harder, okay? What took longer? Getting a page 1 ranking or learning to drive?
Oh, page 1 ranking. I think just.
What's easier? Getting your first sale or learning WordPress?
About equal. I'll go.
He's on the fence. He's on the fence.
We're learning WordPress.
What's better, display ads or affiliate commissions?
Affiliate commissions, 100%.
Thank you. Yes. If starting again, age, domain, or newly registered?
Aged.
And most stressful, moving house or Google Core update?
Google Core update, man. I break myself every time.
Definitely. Mark, seriously, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think the guys watching hopefully have learned a lot from you. It's been a pleasure to see your journey to this point. Even though I know I joke and I say it's annoying that you've had so much success with that first site, but it is massively down to you two. And I'm sure if people have got comments that they want to ask questions, leave them in the comments, and I'm sure you'll hop in and leave some replies.
Absolutely. And the thing is, nobody knows everything in this game. I mean, even you, my esteemed mentor, I mean, nobody knows everything. So you've just got to go for it and try it out, tweak things a bit and see what happens. And it can work. I mean, we're living examples that it can work.
Absolutely. Mark,
cheers. Mate. Cheers. A few more beers?
Absolutely.